Alright, what do we got? We have an opening hand that does not include the ability to interact, and 5-drop. I'm going to go with probably not allowed to keep that. This hand does interact. I like that better. I'm awfully tempted to keep Disdainful Stroke because I think that it's a really important card against both anything green-red and white-black. I think I'm inclined to throw away the Jwari Disruption here and just try to keep a functional hand of Celestus plus counterspells and board wipe. I think that covers my bases against most things. Is there any way in which my sequencing matters here? I don't think so. I'm not going to be able to cast Vanishing Verse off the top no matter which land I play. And my island means that I'm always being able to cast a Jwari Disruption or a Disdainful Stroke off the top regardless as well. Opponent seems to be on a similar color pattern to us. Very well. I could jam Celestus here pretty safely, but that does give my opponent the opportunity to resolve a 4-drop, and I don't really want that. I mean, I guess I could resolve a 4-drop as well. But my opponent did, in fact, attempt to resolve a 4-drop, and I get to Jwari Disruption that. So I feel like I'm supposed to be pretty happy about that. Now, I could Sorin and downtick, or Celestus hold up Disdainful Stroke. If I Sorin and downtick, and my opponent plays Lolth, then I can Meathook for 1, kill all the tokens, and punch Lolth with the Sorin token down to 2. So it can't downtick again, but they get to draw cards. And if they then remove my Sorin token, I'm kind of in trouble. I guess I'm not in the most trouble there because I have a Sorin and they have a Lolth, and that's kind of close to equal. That is indeed exactly what happens. Do we have a new plan for Edgar yet? So we have the... Oh. Well, that's interesting. We have the plan of 2 Kayas in the board. I'm debating if I want to cut the Jacob Hawkins for Baleful Masteries, but not testing that just yet. Shouldn't have played that land. Do I want to reveal the 7-drop to Sorin? That's not the best deck building, to be entirely honest. Alas, however, I do want to do that. I think I do want to actually get the Celestus down, and I don't think it's worth playing Lolth. I don't think that necessarily gives me a better board state than developing the Celestus anyway. Opponent plays Edgar while we're tapped out, yes, but we have Hullbreaker Horror, and that's pretty good. So opponent's representing Vanishing Verse on this 2-3. The fact that they haven't Vanishing Verse Sorin means that if they have an intention, it is to Vanishing Verse the 2-3. So let's put the opponent to the test and see if they've got that Vanishing Verse or not. They don't. Interesting. So if they don't have the Vanishing Verse, then it's kind of tempting to just slam Hullbreaker Horror. But I think I just want to draw cards and put a Lolth in play and hold up Disdainful Stroke. I feel like I've got enough value happening every turn that I just don't care about this Sorin currently. Is Sunset Fairy good enough for this deck? Sunset to Fairy, is that I'm guessing that's the 4-mana one that's in Standard. Oh, Who Unravels the Sunset. Is that the actual name of that card? There's a lot of different... Who Slows the Sunset. Yes, I do not believe that card is good enough for this deck. I don't think that card's actually, like, particularly good. The only reason it's kind of okay in older formats is because it's got pretty good synergy with Key to the Archives. And even then, like, I still don't think that it's excellent. It's just fine. I think with no Key to the Archives, it's super not interesting to play. Hey, Nefet! Thanks for the raid. How'd the stream go? Okay, so Kaya, Edgar, Sorin, Go Blanks, Halkin, Disdainful Stroke, cut Bloodchief, cut Parasitic Grasp, Soul Shatter's fine, don't want Path of Peril, Meathook Massacres, Iymrith, meh. We cut the Horrors. I don't know if that's right, because it is one of the only answers to Edgar, but I think that the opponent's deck on Esper probably doesn't have good answers to Edgar. It's not like they're playing the 2-mana sacrifice a permanent exile something. Treasure Vault says Celestus sort of do the same thing in Standard, although Vault requires you to be in 2 colors. Yeah, and I don't think cutting the black from this deck is really possible. White's the thing that's the splash. But, so untapping Celestus is not like going over the top to the extent that I think makes it worth playing Teferi instead of other 4-drops. If you were to be in straight white-blue, I think there might be a possibility that you don't have enough good 4-drops in your deck that it's worth playing Teferi, but Edgar and Sorin are both definitely better than Teferi, and Memory Deluge is way better than Teferi, in my opinion. What am I cutting here? I probably shouldn't be on 3 Edgars. Too much risk. Maybe that's not true? I don't know. Alright, once again, hand with Celestus. I think I keep that. Fixes a lot of mana kerfuffles. If we draw an untapped land, I can possibly hold up this Jwari Disruption, otherwise I'm playing it for this turn. We do. Yeah, I think I'm just holding up this Jwari Disruption. Do I think my opponent boarded into negate? Do I think I have an answer? Once again, I guess I do have to play this Jwari Disruption now. Holding up Disdainful Stroke. I can't really play Celestus and not have an answer to a 4-drop. I think they have too many good 4-drops. I could play Celestus here holding up Disdainful Stroke. I don't know that there's a lot of counterspells I would expect them to be running that could hit the Celestus in this spot, but I'm not confident of that. I'm also missing a land drop next turn anyway. Possibly if I play the Celestus and they do nothing, then I get to loot into a land, but I think that I might as well just pass holding up Disdainful Stroke here. And if they don't do anything, I get to Memory Deluge on the end of their turn. And if they Memory Deluge on the end of my turn, then I Disdainful Stroke it and at least have a Vanishing Verse for a Lolth. I would be decidedly behind at that point, but wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Alright, what happens with the Memory Deluge opponent? Jwari Disruption. Okay. Draw land? No. Edgar. That's a problem. Alright, well, I think I have to try to play the Celestus here because I can't afford to not be progressing my mana, even though missing this land drop still hurts. Go blank. Not great. At least Vanishing Verse and Celestus are okay discards at this point. Possibly Edgar was supposed to be, if I'm being honest. But opponent's still representing Disdainful Stroke. I don't know that me throwing out a go blank here is actually beneficial. I think I'm just supposed to loot towards a land. Opponent's go blank was fine. Yeah, I gotta get rid of a Lolth here, I think. Opponent's go blank is fine because we had a Memory Deluge in the yard. And opponent hits the land drop. Harsh. Edgar. Interesting. Okay, so I can let that resolve and resolve my Memory Deluge. If we hit a land, I can't hold up Disdainful Stroke plus play Lolth, but if we hit a land with Memory Deluge, I do get to play Edgar plus Disdainful Stroke. No, I think I'm on Disdainful Stroke Edgar and then play Lolth. You do hit a land, but not terribly meaningful. Yeah, so I do think we Lolth and then downtick. Vanishing Verse the Lolth, okay. Andy Sugiyama, thanks for the resub. I appreciate the support. Okay, card Foretold. Interesting. Is that probably a board wipe then? I guess it could be Sod coming? A board wipe would be odd to leave in at this point, I feel like. I don't really want to go blank here. But how do I play around my opponent go blanking me? I could wait. I should probably wait. I don't think we have a lot of options for cats in Standard right now. Opponent does have Celestus. Okay. Oh, behold. Okay, so Memory Deluge probably gets Test of Talents. Did here, then. No, I don't think you can play Test of Talents right now. Oh, cool, they don't have anything. Radical. 3-5. Alright, Hall is tempting. We are getting to the point where our spider tokens are going to threaten the opponent's life total. Untapped lands are also kind of cool, though. Let's take the Kaya. I don't think that I need to go blank here. I'm kind of viewing this as it being likely that I'd try to play Kaya and then downtick on Celestus. Limit the mana my opponent has access to. So opponent's got one card off the Behold the Multiverse and one card off Celestus that could be counter spells. No, I'm not thinking we want Island here. Turns out we did not want Island here. Am I supposed to try to Memory Deluge before my opponent go blanks it? Not progressing my board state's a little concerning. The concern is if I play anything here and the opponent just counterspells it. I guess I could go for Edgar and then go blank my opponent. If they don't counter the Edgar, I'm in pretty good shape because it's hard for them to remove. If they do counterspell the Edgar, then I'm go blanking them down to one card. They can Mind Rot me and get rid of the Memory Deluge, but I'll have a Hall of the Storm Giants in play at that point. Yeah, okay. I don't think this can go too terribly for me. Do I bother trying to go blank into a possible Jwari Disruption given we knew they had priority there? I could play Clearwater Pathway and then go blank now that we know that our Edgar actually resolved. But the Edgar resolving, I think, makes me want to play Storm Giants more, not less. So yeah, let's still go blank. I'm okay trading this with a Jwari Disruption, I think. It's not the end of the world. Wow, Meathook Massacre. That's surprising. Okay. And a Vanishing Verse. So what's your plan then, opponent? Admittedly, they did that before they knew about the Hall of the Storm Giants, so they could have thought their life total was under a lot less threat than it is. Second Meathook Massacre. That's the plan. Alright. Sorin. Sure. Sorin down ticks. Yup. Okay. Once again, do we Memory Deluge and play Jacob? I could Kaya downtick on the Vampire and kill the Sorin. That's probably what I'm supposed to do. I think I want to get empty-handed so that a Mind Rot taking the Memory Deluge isn't terribly exciting for them. And removing a Planeswalker is good. So they can fire up Hive. Oh, they can fire up Hive to kill Kaya and get rid of Memory Deluge at the same time. I was thinking about blocking the Hall of Storm Giants with Jacob, but I neglected to think about how good Hive is here. So if they have a removal spell for Jacob that costs 3 mana or less, which is most removal spells, then I'm not excited about that. I would still have Hall plus Edgar, so I wouldn't actually be losing. Did I have a better line here? I could have just played Memory Deluge and attacked into the 2/3 Vampire, killed it, left them with a Sorin at 2. I could have played Jacob and cast Memory Deluge if I didn't Kaya. Yeah, okay, that was probably the better line. I think I should have done that instead. I think I'm still ahead here, but I gave an unnecessary opening to the opponent. Well, it's good that the opponent's trying to figure out what to do. You know, I say that a lot. It's not really true. If the opponent has options to consider, that's usually not a good thing. I should have taken one of these earlier. Ooh. Little anti-acid tablets I usually have after lunch, and forgot to do it earlier. Being old is fun. Ghost form on Hall of the Storm Giants is fun. That would be really cool, huh? I'm probably more likely to put it on Edgar, because that way it means that exile effects don't get rid of Edgar either, so it just never goes away. Cool. We like concession. So is that a victory for Kaya? Alright, taking the play. Keeping the hands with Celestus. No way of sequencing this to have Vanishing Verse on 2 other than going like turn 1 Shattered Sanctum, turn 2 Hengegate Pathway. And then we don't have a third untap land for Celestus, and we don't have Jwari Disruption as a follow-up? Not terribly clean, is it? I could lead on Shattered Sanctum so that depending on the land we draw, we have options. I think I'm tempted to do that. I could possibly draw some kind of dual land that makes me want to play Pathway on blue here. Double up Jwari Disruption for a 2-drop. We did not. We drew a Path of Peril. That definitely means I play the Jwari Disruption. I wonder if that was optimal land sequencing, or if there was something better there that I was missing. Alright. Play blue, Celestus, and then we'll plan to play the Clearwater Pathway on black. Jwari Disruption. Yep. Happy to have that out of the way so that our Memory Deluge can flourish. Opponent would appear to be on just straight blue-black, judging by the snow in all likelihood. Siphon Insight. I would like to resolve a Memory Deluge while that is guaranteed to work. So we know the opponent's not going to get a Hullbreaker Horror. Do we want Sorin and land, or Sorin and Hullbreaker Horror? Given the contents of my hand, probably Sorin and land? Is it all control now on ladder? No, I know that they're, well... It's difficult to draw a line right now between control and midrange, I think, because the definition of control deck that we have gotten used to in the last, 6 months of Standard sort of doesn't exist anymore. And so now most of the control decks are something that looks like midrange rather than control. But the ladder right now does seem to be various big mid-range lists matched up against some various chunky aggro decks without much small ball aggro. So basically, the way the metagame was at before, polarized between hyper combo control and hyper aggro, the aggro decks have pulled up the mid-range scale, and the control decks have pulled down the mid-range scale. Alright, I don't mind drawing Memory Deluge. Opponents foretold something. I don't imagine it saw it coming, but I can't imagine it being anything but saw it coming. Celestus. Okay, well, we're going to jam our Memory Deluge and probably get that countered. Oh, it's not foretold, it's my card. That's a good point. That is exactly what that is, isn't it? Alright, we get to pick Disdainful Stroke and a land. Love that. That makes it a lot less likely our Memory Deluge was getting countered. Radical. Alright, land drops continue. You love to see it. Opponent gets to loot. That's fine. I can just jam Hullbreaker Horror here. There's not a huge number of answers they could have. This is why you need sleeves. This is why I need everybody else to run sleeves, so that I can be the player with the cool sleeves. Alright, we know that can't be Hullbreaker Horror, so I kind of feel like I'm okay running a Memory Deluge out here. I don't really want to run out Hullbreaker Horror and get it killed by some low-cost removal spell. Wow, that resolved. Okay. Well, if that resolves, how about I just take Memory Deluge and... I don't know. I don't need any of this. I guess an Edgar? Play land, play Edgar. Get Edgar countered. Still have stuff. What's your plan, opponent? Hullbreaker Horror? Oh no! It would be a shame if somebody killed that. It's almost like Hullbreaker Horror isn't great in control mirrors. Whoever believed such a thing? He says while staring at a hand of like 6 answers for Hullbreaker Horrors. No. Poor Memory Deluge. You tried. Land drops, continuing, combat, going. So now I can play Hullbreaker Horror with Vanishing Verse backup, which is a weird way to phrase that, but eh. Vanishing Verse does protect Hullbreaker Horror in a sense. Sedgemoor Witch, okay, sure. Graveyard Glutton attacks. Eats some of my graveyard that I don't care about. We play Horror with Vanishing Verse up. See what the opponent has to say. Stuff gets exiled. Attempt to go to blocks. Opponent uses a removal spell on Hullbreaker Horror. Very well. In response, we Vanishing Verse the Glutton. Discarding Path of Peril that I don't really want to use. Hullbreaker Horror goes back to our hand. Opponent has to use another removal spell on it. They do. So somehow, despite using a removal spell on Graveyard Glutton, we have still actually wound up ahead on the exchange, which works for me. Opponent gets some 1/1s. Good for them. Opponent gets to loot. They don't have Memory Deluge in their deck, it would look like, which is very strange for a blue-black deck, or they didn't think about Memory Deluge incentivizing looting with Celestus. Alright, let's get that Sedgemoor Witch off the battlefield. Cast the Sanctum, or I'll play the Sanctum and attack opponent. They can fire up Hall and start attacking us. I guess if they do that, I'm probably gonna have to... That was foretold. For sure, that one was actually foretold. If they actually attacked us with Hall, there was a possibility I was gonna have to start holding back with Edgar. But as long as our life total is kind of stable here, so we get to play Memory Deluge before their presumably saw it coming comes off of Foretell. They might have Disdainful Stroke here. No. Alright, do I want to play an Edgar? I probably want to play an Edgar more than I want to play lands. I mean, they have Hall, so getting some 1/1s every turn is meaningful. Opponent gets to loot again. Ooh, Iymrith's fun. We're 1 lane short of playing Edgar plus Memory Deluge, but probably still just worth jamming the Edgar. If this gets countered, I could jam the Iymrith and be out the Disdainful Stroke. Wow, it's a saw it coming. I didn't see that coming at all. Alright. Well, I don't want to not have Disdainful Stroke up. Yeah, in comes the Hall. That means I have to hold back with the Edgar, I think. Parasitic Grasp might change that, though. Actually, I have exactly enough mana that it does change that. Because I can Parasitic Grasp at 1/1 to gain enough life that they don't have anywhere near lethal. So we can keep racing them here. It's very difficult for them to do anything meaningful at the same time as animating Hull. So I think I'm okay with the amount of damage that I'm taking from them animating Hull and swinging. Could chump block Hull, although I guess the fact that they've attacked here means that they're dead on the backswing? If I were to take this much damage and go to 1, then the opponent has a Foretold card. Is the plan to play land and Meathook to do the last point of damage to me? I don't think I'm willing to give them the opening to do that, so I will kill their token for them. Puts them to 9, which is still dead currently. Fading Hope. Okay. So they didn't have lethal then. But the Hall does do a lot of damage. I have a lot of Disdainful Strokes, meanwhile. Can I risk attacking with Iymrith here? I don't think so, but I can set up a double block on Hall. Still got no clue what the card they stole from me is. I'm sort of amazed that they have yet to, like, actually play something Disdainful Strokeable. Have they? Yeah, they played literally no cards so far that was Disdainful Strokeable. Huh. I wonder if that's like an intentional metagame choice or what. So yeah, they have been stealing our cards and foretelling cards, which makes it kind of difficult to keep track. Both of these cards are stolen at this point, I believe. Alright, let's Memory Deluge. Okay, that actually succeeded. Sweet. So we are going to take... As tempting as it is to take Parasitic Grasp, I should probably take Parasitic Grasp. I should take Parasitic Grasp and Lolth. Lolth because it's aggression, Parasitic Grasp because it actually means that if I get hit with 2 bounce spells, or 2 removal spells of any kind here, I still have lethal. Or rather, I'm still not dead to the Hall. Tooltip tells you the owner. If you mouse over it in the exile zone. Or I guess if you mouse over which exile zone it's in. Yeah, so in this case it's both in mine. Yeah, we're definitely going to Disdainful Stroke a Leer. Not interested in that resolving. Alright, let's play Lolth and see what happens. That resolves, so we downtick the Lolth. Then we go to combat. Which of these do I want to swing with? Probably Edgar. I don't think I need to be super vigilant about killing my opponent faster here when I've got 2 Disdainful Strokes in hand. I just need to make sure there's no possibility they can kill me with Hall. Admittedly, the Parasitic Grasp also made it pretty safe to swing with the Iymrith. They need to kill both spiders. I guess... How much mana do they have? 6 mana to activate Hall. Kill both spiders with a Meathook Massacre. Yeah, so there's no way they could have, like, negate plus a way to kill both spiders and the ability to attack with Hall. I was probably pretty safe there, but I don't know. I feel like I'm probably going to win that game 100% of the time no matter what I do. So it's hard for me to find the 0.01% edge, or say confidently whether that was correct, I suppose. Go blanks, Sorin, Kaya. Well, I don't actually need Kayas against this list, do I? No, I don't. Jacobs, Disdainful Strokes. Cut the Path of Perils. Probably cut the Meathook Massacres, even? Cut the Parasitic Grasps. Got the Vanishing Verses and the Soul Shatters for horrors. I can probably cut Iymrith. I think I keep Hullbreaker Horror because they don't have Vanishing Verse, which makes it kind of harder for them to answer Horror super effectively. Although maybe I'm supposed to board up to a 4th Edgar. The opponent does have Sedgemoor Witches and Graveyard Trespassers. Alright, cutting a Horror, lowering our curve. Come to think of it, Sedgemoor Witches and Trespassers mean I'm probably supposed to keep in Meathook. I can probably cut Thirst for that, maybe? That's also a reason to want Iymrith. I should probably be finding room for the other Iymrith here, because they did show that their removal spell was Power Word Kill. How is Standard nowadays? Totally new as of yesterday. Hard to give, like, any firm opinions on it at the moment, although I'm enjoying it, because it is very much in the honeymoon stage of post-ban. I mean, his hand's really... Oh, cool. I was going to have to debate if I wanted to mulligan that or not, because it sucked a lot. Compensated performer. I mean, I understand opponents' desire to quit after mulliganing to 6, seeing a bad hand, and realizing you're going to have to mulligan to 5 in a control mirror where your opponent's staring at 7 and might keep. I probably was going to keep after my opponent mulliganed to 6. 6 lands plus Sorin on the draw? Why not? Haven't played since Zendikar Rising, looking to make a deck to climb Standard with. Yeah, I can't really give any firm recommendations right now on decks, just because the metagame is so uncertain. But looks like there's probably some good mono-green lists, some good green-red lists if you're looking for aggro, and then white-black midrange and Esper midrange and Is It Dragons seem to be the decks that are cropping up as top decks at the moment, though time will tell how that shakes out in the long run. Do I play this Hengegate Pathway on white? I do now. I probably don't kill this Usher and just try to get out a big Path of Peril, I think. I've been seeing a lot of dragons today. I saw some yesterday, but I haven't seen any today yet. Thalia. Well, it makes my Path of Peril sad. Okay. There's a chance my opponent plays a 2-drop here instead of a 3-drop. Makes my Path of Peril really good. So I'm not going to kill anything yet. I'd like to try to get as much card advantage as possible against a white aggro deck where my life total isn't super in danger. Nothing. Nothing, not even activate Usher, huh? That's really concerning. It reads like main deck Guardian, does it? Why are they running Snow? That's also a good question. They may have just not updated their deck. I can't think of any reason mono white would run Snow, since Faceless Haven is banned, specifically. Is there any flash creature other than Guardian? Alright, opponent, you baited me into doing nothing. They didn't have priority there. They don't have Guardian. Huh. Wild. My plan was to, like, Parasitic Grasp something, but I'm not actually sure what I'm doing now. What's happening? Okay. I guess they were just super playing around Meathook Massacre was what was going on? As tempting as it is to jam Lolth here, what would they do if I jammed Lolth here? I mean, so I can Celestus Bloodchief's Thirst. I should probably just jam Lolth here. I'm not actually sure how the opponent does something against that that's meaningful. Like, they have to remove both tokens. I guess double Brutal Cathar? That would explain why the opponent wouldn't do anything. Ah, okay, yes. Skyclave Apparition does not work. Not what that card does. Does not hit tokens. Alright, so opponent's plays earlier kind of make more sense now. I could take this hit from Intrepid Adversary to keep the token around. That way I can Bloodchief Thirst the Intrepid Adversary. Probably shouldn't do that. This makes it kind of annoying to attempt to save the Lolth. I'm gonna have to, like, Parasitic Grasp the Brutal Cathar and Vanishing Verse the Skyclave Apparition, which isn't really how I want to spend my mana. Would have preferred to get to play the Celestus, but whatever. Alright, so we Parasitic Grasp, a Brutal Cathar, we Vanishing Verse, a Skyclave Apparition. I could... No, I need the card advantage right now. I don't think I can afford to not. Why was Shipwreck... Why was it giving me priority like I could cast Bloodchief's Thirst there? That's weird. Huh. Okay, well, let's draw some more cards. And then play a land. And then I could just Hullbreaker Horror here, but I don't know. Feels like all routes lead to victory. Okie dokie. Mono white, huh? They have a lot of answers to to Edgar in the form of Brutal Cathar and Skyclave Apparition. But we do have two Parasitic Grasps and a Bloodchief's Thirst to bring in, and that's pretty fun. We also got a Sorin. Iymrith is probably good. How have I been liking Iymrith? Iymrith has been pretty reasonable. I don't think it's like the best card in the world, but it is a very good blocker against dragons, and that's nice to have access to. Don't need Hullbreaker Horror. I don't need Disdainful Strokes. So I guess if I don't want to bring in Edgar or Fading Hope against mono white, then this is solid. Yeah, Iymrith isn't really good against the Disdainful Stroke decks, and I'm not really viewing it as an anti-control card. In fact, most kind of blue mid-range mirrors I've been boarding it out. I don't know if I'm supposed to board it out against white-black or not. But very good against dragons. Admittedly, being countered by Disdainful Stroke out of dragons is a problem, but I don't think Disdainful Stroke is the card I'm most scared of dragons playing. I think they tend to play stuff that actually protects Goldspan more, which tends to be Negates and Malevolent Hermits. I really don't know if there's something I'm supposed to be running Edgar over here. Probably not. I could run it over Iymrith. No, I think Iymrith is better against the exile creatures. Shmai's Cries. Thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. That's a lot of 4-drops, but I guess we have Bloodchief's Thirst. That's something. Howdy, Cushwood. How goes it? Alright, well, a 5-drop is not something that helps our curve. I should have played Shattered Sanctum. That was a huge error. Luckily not terribly punished for it. I've got Infinity 4-drops already, so I don't think that I'm supposed to hold this Path of Peril for more value right now. Also, once we hit 4 mana, I have value just for days. I don't know what the opponent should take here. There's a duplicate Sorin. I guess you take Lolth? Yeah, make it like nearly uncastable. Okay, so opponent knows that a Sorin is coming down next turn if we want to. And I probably want to. I could also jam Edgar. Both are bad against Brutal Cathar. So I imagine the opponent Brutal Cathar is my token here, kills Sorin, does 3 to me. No, they Skyclave Apparition Sorin. Wow, that's aggressive. You cannot target a token with Skyclave Apparition. Did learn that one, so I'm happy I didn't play Edgar here. Opponent can trade Spellbinder for a token if they want to. I don't think they should want to. Okay, and I'm willing to play Edgar, pump my token, make it even better. The opponent can Skyclave Apparition Edgar if they want to, or they can Brutal Cathar Edgar. Both are pretty bad if I Path of Peril next turn, which, spoilers, I have the land and can do. Yep, Brutal Cathar takes out Edgar. Guess I could take out the flying token, and they could attack in the air. It's not unreasonable. But yeah, opponent still doesn't really have good anythings, and they're only representing 1 mana, so we're gonna board wipe. We gain some life. We get a 4/4 token and an Edgar back. Seems pretty good. My board state I like. We get to play Lolth next turn. I feel very ahead. Not sure how the opponent handles this one. They can start with the Brutal Cathar on the 4/4 token, I guess. I guess it would start with Skyclave Apparition on the Edgar, actually. But, yeah, even then, that's still not actually, like, getting unbehind. I think we just have a very, very good matchup against Mono White. Also, they drew no Adelines, which probably helps. Alrighty, we're on the play, so I will keep Jwari Disruption into Sorin. Why not? Nobody can stop me. So I've seen some green-black mid-range lists. Abzan. Huh, okay. Interesting. Presumably playing the new 4-drop thingy. You know, the thingy. You know the one. I guess I'm just gonna jam Edgar then, because it's the least vulnerable to their removal. Binding of the Old Gods. That's the thingy. I could play Sorin and uptick it to draw a card, but getting it Vanishing Verse is not really super great tempo. Meathook Massacre. Okay, so my opponent's on some sort of Abzan midrange list similar to White-Black Snow midrange, but with green cards instead, I guess. I'm just going to hold up Memory Deluge here. Layer of the Hydra. Wow, that's ambitious. Rite of Oblivion on Edgar. Okay, sure. Wow, it's a very ambitious mana base to play this white-black deck. Still, my Edgar does go away. Guess I can find more Edgars. Yeah, let's just take the Hive and play our Edgar. Although, come to think of it, I guess I probably wanted to hold up Jwari Disruption anyway. Slapshot 1850. Thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Have you faced a single mono green deck yet? No. Sarl, what do you do? When a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Sarulf Realm Eater. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Sarulf has one or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove all of them. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with mana value less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way. Huh. Okay. So, is the idea that you wipe tokens? Nah. I mean, I guess I could. It's not exile. Okay. Sure. Got my coffin. Could blow it up, I guess. It's Nugan minus accepted hits colorless things. Specifically this clue token, I think, is the synergy they're trying to go for. Yeah, alright. You got a doggo opponent. Yep. You success... Like, I guess that's a synergy. That just doesn't seem particularly good. Okay. At the beginning of each end step, create a tapped 1/1 black skeleton creature token. If a creature died this turn, create 2 of those instead. I guess that's sort of annoying. Is it that annoying, though? Is it annoying enough that I don't want a Memory Deluge? I don't think it's annoying enough that... maybe it is. I don't know. Look at all this mana I'm wasting, and now I'm taking damage. Ugh, my life total is below 20. Big Goon 86. Thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Thing runs with the game very fast. Yeah, I've lost to Skeletal Swarming in the past, and most of my removal doesn't actually answer it very adequately here, unfortunately. Alright, let's play our land drops and Memory Deluge this turn. It is worth using the Jwari on it. The trick is that I don't know if it's worth not casting Memory Deluge. There's a lot of opportunity cost tied up in using that Jwari Disruption, even if the only thing I'm losing is 1 Jwari Disruption. And most of the decisions in Magic aren't actually about the resources involved. It's actually all about opportunity cost. I'm going to take a Hullbreaker. It seems good. Vanishing Verse, not super great. Parasitic Grasp, probably better. They do have a 2-mana target for Parasitic Grasp at the moment, so I can play Horror with pseudo counterspell backup. That's the important part. One of these days I'm going to play this Sorin. Probably. Just trying to learn from one of my faves for PTQ tomorrow? Well, hopefully I can be helpful. I think this is almost certainly what I would register myself. The big question for me being what I want to do to improve the white-black matchup if I were to do anything. But I don't really have a way to set up testing that at the moment. Infernal Grasp! Oh no! Anyway. I would like to return my horror to hand. You want to use a second removal spell on an opponent? They do. Somehow, we always manage to get our 2-for-1s. Yeah, I should probably kill Rutstein here. Seraph gets a tiny bit bigger. Edgar transforms. We'll play our land drop. Swing with everybody. Then I'm going to Path of Peril. Edgar goes back to sleep. The annoying Seraph is gone. It also gets a bunch of counters despite being gone. We get to play Sorin. Do I downtick? Do I uptick? Speaking of opponent's ambitious mana base, that is a single layer of the Hydra with no other green sources, which is desperately amusing. Am I supposed to uptick this or downtick this? I'm supposed to uptick. I'm no coward. Parasitic Grasp. Okay. If it gets Vanishing Verse immediately, I think I'd rather have a card in hand than a 2-3 in play. Let us continue upticking. We will take the Soul Shatter, play our land, debate how... Oh. Well, we're going to protect Sorin by exiling that Rite of Oblivion. That one's a freebie. And we got our 1-1 to block their trampling 1-1. So they're going to get 2 skeletons. An Edgar. Oh no. A Meathook Massacre for 0. Also, oh no. Alright, I would like to draw a card. Land's not super helpful. Alright, let's kill the Edgar. Make a 1-1. We activate Sorin. Put a land in hand. We got a lot of blockers. Alright. Plan Ultimate Sorin. Win the game is a go. So... Skeletal... Okay, wait, that doesn't do anything, though. But I appreciate the opponent's attempted dedication. The skeletons do have trample, but it's only going to be a 1-1 skeleton. I'll block the other one just, like, in case the opponent's got a 1-mana counterspell. So we kill one of the skeletons and then the other one shrinks and doesn't even get over our Hive. Opponent makes a bunch of skeletons. They're super big skeletons. I would be extremely afraid if my opponent wasn't going to lose 13 life this turn. And we did almost flood out of that game, horribly. So it's a good thing that we had exactly enough resources to not flood out of the game. Skeletons, 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 skeletons. Well, I definitely board in Kaya to have an answer to skeleton enchantment. Yeah, the Sorin bite animation is a lot of fun, huh? Stroke seems good here. Yeah, Stroke probably good enough if the opponent's main game plan is skeleton swarming and Edgar. Those are things that I want answers to. What do we not want? Parasitic Grasp, despite actually having found uses there, is not great. Sorin, maybe good, maybe not. I don't think we're on Hullbreaker plan against a deck that has Infinity 2-mana hard removal. Verse seems iffy. Yeah. I mean, cutting Verse always seems unacceptable, but they were on mono, not versable threats. I guess creature lands still exist, although I doubt they're playing much other than the Lair of the Hydra. You just can't fit too much. So let's say Sorin and Edgar for sure. I think I'm probably either supposed to board into Iymrith or Jacob. Probably Jacob? Not sure how to feel about this. I do think this hand is acceptable. Jwari Disruption into Disdainful Stroke into Memory Deluge is technically a curve. I've got no objections to that, as long as my opponent doesn't play an aggressive 2-drop. Skyclave Shade is a super aggressive 2-drop. Moderately concerning. Kinda wish I had Go Blank suddenly. Wasn't really expecting that. Luckily, Edgar's decent against that. Sort of. Alright. Graveyard Trespasser, extremely disruptible. Well, Path of Peril isn't bad. It's not great, either. There's more green mana for the opponent. Opponent, you should play an Edgar. Skyclave Shade. No! Could play Celestus holding up Disdainful Stroke here. It seems a little risky. I think I'm just supposed to play Edgar. They're probably going to sack a Skyclave Shade to kill it at sorcery speed, which is a problem. Oh, no. Radical. Oh. Cool. Opponent kills my Edgar, which starts making me lifelinkers, and also gets rid of their creature for me? I'm pretty happy about that trade. I would not like my opponent to have an Edgar. Yeah, I'm gonna go with this feels really, 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 really good. Should I Memory Deluge at sorcery speed? It stops it from flipping to Knight for Celestus, but it does let us hit a land drop? I could also just play Kaya and uptick, I guess. Alright. I mean, the ultimate's actually pretty good, so, like, I don't know. Beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a legendary spell. No! What? Target creature or planeswalker and opponent controls phases out. If that permanent is black, exile it instead? Wait, that's a card? That's really good against Edgar, though. Do we sideboard that? Opponent, I like your tech. That's really good. That's also an answer to Edgar. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, let's loot here, because I don't really want a Path of Peril at this point, I don't think. Is it better than Baleful Mastery? Well, it hits literally every Planeswalker that I wanted Baleful Mastery to hit anyway. And it does it for a lot less mana? Yeah, and against Edgar, it can also hit the Coffin, right? No, okay, creature or Planeswalker, not permanent. That's spicy. Okay, I guess I'm taking a Hall of the Storm Giants and a Jwari Disruption at this point in the game. Let's get rid of Rutstein, I guess. Once again, I should really be using these Celestuses more aggressively and not letting Auto-Tapper leave me dead. This is a bad habit to be developing. Always use Celestus mana first if your mana colors are going to work out fine otherwise. And if the Celestus isn't representing bluffing anything, because you never know when the opponent's going to kill the Celestus and force you into having to do something at a timing you don't want to do. So what's the name of this? Divine Smite. Okay. That's getting filed away for use. Treasure. So sacking Meathook Massacre to kill my Coffin, and then I Jwari Disruption the Rite of Oblivion. What is that rate as? Is that a 3-for-1 with a Jwari Disruption? Or what? Draw a card. Yes, please. Memory Deluge. Wow, I like that card. Disdainful Stroke. I'm 1 mana short of Hall while playing Disdainful Stroke, so I guess we do nothing. And we'll just attack with all of our vampires as 2/1s next turn. Oh! Alright, I like the idea of Soul Shattering my opponent's Rutstein. This is all one trigger, not a reflexive trigger, so no need to Soul Shatter in response. Opponent gets a 1/1 token, that's okay. Skyclave Shades. Well, wait, can those block? No. Rented 7. Gross. Absolutely not. Opponent's mana base is so infinitely ambitious. Oh, we're done, opponent? No, come back. You were only taking 14 damage. It's fine, I promise. Alright, let's go add those to our deck. I like that idea. Ooh. Is this the streamer, Jaffer? They might be streaming right now if y'all want to catch a alternative viewpoint for this match. I will keep. Shambling Ghast. Oh no! My hand is certainly odd for this matchup. I'm not doing much of anything, but I guess I have Celestus and Meathook Massacre, so maybe not doing anything is fine. Alright. Okay, Jwari Disruption could be good. Green-black. Alright. I don't think I have a shout-out command set up, but if that is the actual username, then that's the link. I don't want to click on that and like see their screen, so if somebody wants to confirm for me that that's actually the correct link, I would appreciate it. Awesome, 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 excellent. Thank you. Do I play this on black? I think so. And then I play the Celestus. I'm trying to think of, like, if they remove the Celestus here, I want my mana to still be functional to cast both Meathook Massacre and Memory Deluge. So I think I have to play the Pathway on... Oh, that's gotta not be what you would prefer to do. I mean, I guess they can play Lolth here, is the idea. I can't imagine anything else that would make the Infernal Grasp worth it. Chariot. Huh. Okay. So then the plan has to be Wrenn as the follow-up. What am I supposed to do about that? Probably just say, alright, cool. We get to loot, try to find a land, succeed, get rid of Celestus. So if they play Wrenn, they downtick Crew with Chariot. I think I'm waiting for the Chariot to attack, and then I'm Vanishing Versing the token in response to the Chariot trigger. Alright, let's see. Oh, interesting. Successfully played around that. Well, then what? I could Vanishing Verse the Chariot, would make drawing a path really good. I could Memory Deluge to try to hit the path. If I Lolth next turn, I think I'm still on the plan to Vanishing Verse the Tree Folk. Even though they successfully walked away with a treasure here. Because I think that makes playing Lolth strongest. Okay. Deadly Dispute. Fine by me. We get to loot. Think I get rid of a land, probably. We hit a land, probably. We get to play Lolth. Sure. Make some spiders. That's pressuring Wrenn. If we kill Wrenn, then we can Meathook. I wonder if the opponent's playing Vanishing Verse as an answer to Horror? Some lands, mills a Wrenn and 7. I don't have proof of it, but I suspect my opponent is probably not on snow. We'll know for certain when we actually see some of their basics. But I'm not expecting Blood on the Snow to get back 5 drops here. Hive fires up. Chariot fires up. Would I rather get rid of Chariot or a land? If I want to get rid of anything. The deck's going pretty great. So far, been extremely effective. I suspect I just don't block. I think I'm actually totally okay with Lolth having gained me this much life. And now killing the Wrenn and 7 is what matters to me. Do a little bit of loot, get a little River Swamp, play a little bit of land, combat, kill a little bit of Wrenn. Okay. Could Meathook Massacre to clear the board of cats and then plan to Soul Shatter the Asika's Chariot. Might play around removal a little better than just trying to jam Hullbreaker Horror. But also I win if Hullbreaker Horror resolves, so like, that's still pretty cool. Worst case scenario, if they do something that's super threatening, I Soul Shatter the Chariot and then Memory Deluge, and that's still pretty good. Yes, this is Hive. Yes, Chariot. Okay, so not that scary, just 6, 9 damage. I probably was supposed to Soul Shatter and Memory Deluge. Only take 5 damage and pull ahead on cards. Nah, we're fine. I could block with Hull, but I think that's just worse than blocking with Horror, because the upside of Horror is if they don't have a 2-mana removal spell here, I win. Okay, yeah, so. Winning is also frequently cool in Magic the Gathering. So if I Meathook for 2, I clear the board and then hit for 5. If I swing with everything, they probably chump block Horror and I do 4. So I think I'm supposed to Meathook first. And return the treasure. Infinity triggers. Combat and swing with Horror. Okay. Should be pretty happy now. I get to return Massacre when I cast Soul Shatter, assuming I don't need to use Soul Shatter to save Horror. Yup, that's a Hive. I probably just don't even bother killing the Hive here. I just care more about protecting my Horror. Swing, attack. Could Memory Deluge to make a land drop, but who needs to do that? Chariot. Sure. The cat tokens don't make Chariot particularly good at blocking against a Horror, because I just Soul Shatter and bounce one of them. They could crew in response if they wanted to, but they probably don't want to. Fell Stinger. Think I Soul Shatter in response here and return that to hand? Yeah, okay. I figured that was probably going to be lethal. I would certainly rather get to play with Divide by Zero than Hullbreaker Horror, but I do confess that playing with Hullbreaker Horror instead of Divide by Zero is probably more fun, even if it's not technically as good. Okay, Chariots and Wrenn and Sevens are scary and probably make me want to play more Disdainful Strokes. It really is a bummer that Disdainful Stroke doesn't hit Go Blank, because if I'm being honest, Go Blank, kind of a problem. Alright, I want more Edgars. I know that for sure. I probably don't want more Bloodchief's Thirsts. I probably want Disdainful Stroke. I guess I probably want Fading Hope against the Wrenn and 7 deck. Maybe? Probably? And then I thought about Go Blanks in the past. Do I want Go Blanks against a deck that isn't playing Snow? I still technically don't know they're not playing Snow. We haven't seen a basic yet. Not even sure Horror is good in this deck. Yeah, it's... It would be good against the right metagames, but I agree that I'm not actually sure that it's stellar in this list. Horror really isn't the biggest long game, because the problem is, if you're playing a long game, you're playing against a deck that has a lot of removal for it, just because most of the commonly played removal right now hits Horror easily, and Horror does not protect itself well against instant speed removal. People kind of think it does because Izzet was good at doing that, because Izzet made getting to 12 mana seem like it wasn't a big deal, whereas every other deck on Earth has to play fair, and getting to 12 mana is a huge deal that is super difficult to do. Don't think I want more Sorins here. I probably don't even want more Horrors. You don't have a ton of cheap instants anymore, because you have to raise your curve because you're not playing Leer, and unsummons aren't really acceptable. You have fewer spells that are instants at all. More of your instants are conditionally targeted, and you can't easily use to save Horror, like Vanishing Verse. Well, Vanishing Verse kind of saves Horror always because it can target itself, but like Disdainful Stroke doesn't necessarily always save Horror. I think I should actually keep this. Edgar's probably just super strong against them in general. I mean, relative to when you... Oh, yeah, also true. This deck, Horror, has gotten a little bit worse. And I also think that Horror has gradually become a little less necessary to deal with stuff like Edgar as we found more answers. What deck does Dragon come out of the sideboard for? I've been debating against various versions of White-Black whether it comes in, and I'm absolutely certain that it comes in against Blue-Red Dragons, where it is one of the best blockers for Goldspan Dragon you could ask for. I really don't want them to Chariot here, I don't think. Raidane. Sweet. That does not hit Edgar immediately. Unfortunately, it does hit Meathook and Lolth, so that could make things awkward. Need to not die before we buy time. Alright, Edgar comes down. Opponent's not off to a stellar aggressive start. Okay, Fading Hope is cool. I could play the other Edgar here. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? They kill my Edgar? And then, like, I get 1 for 1? Oh no, 1 for 1. I agree the shell seems underwhelming compared to, say, the blue-white version. Oh, I'm not a fan of the blue-white control decks in Standard right now. Not having access to Edgar? You don't have, like, good board wipes and good removal? I could see playing a white-black version of this that was very heavy on removal and mid-range and trying to play less card draw. And I could see a blue-black version that was trying to play less creatures and more just... What would even be the way to put it? Like, control? I don't think that'd be good, but I could see what you would be trying to do with it. Have they played a land already? Yes. And I will Fading Hope the Raidane so that I can play my Lolth. But I don't know what appeal blue-white would have right now. Like, what its niche would be. Yeah, alright, Vanishing Verse. That's a cool card. Well, we have a mid-range board state. Oh yeah, if you want to try to make Kraken work optimally, the important aspects are mana ramp and cheap spells. So I suspect that the actual best way to build a Kraken deck that maximized the value of Kraken, or Hullbreaker Horror. I guess, is it a creature type Kraken? It probably is. Would be a blue-red Galvanic Iteration list with Unexpected Windfalls. I just don't know if you have the removal in that kind of deck necessary to make it to the stage of the game where you play Kraken. But that's the kind of thing you need to be doing to really bust Kraken. Do I want to kill Raidane? I don't want to kill my tokens, so I guess I kill Raidane. Because I do want to attack, and I don't want to have to Meathook Massacre. It's very difficult to beat 2 coffins, I feel like. I'm not sure precisely what the opponent's outs are here. I guess Ren downtick? No, that's still sort of not actually good against Edgar, huh? I mean, I've just got a pile of vampires that are good. Yeah, triple blocking Edgar would have been a good play. That's true. And then kill it, and leave me with only a coffin and no pump effect. It's not stellar, but it is probably the best move they had available to them. Didn't get into a top deck war to see who can hit better value. And the opponent could win that. I mean, I've got a lot of value in my deck, but I could definitely whiff. Alrighty, let's keep going. Yeah, I got a really wide board that's hard to deal with. That's extremely resilient to Vanishing Verse. It's possibly the most important, or most insulting part of Edgar, that not only is the front monocolored, and the back is multicolored. The front is multicolored, the back is multicolored, but also the tokens are all multicolored. So all of your Vanishing Verses have no targets whatsoever. Can't even Vanishing Verse a 1/1. Just so insulting. Well, I gotta say, I like how the deck feels at the moment. I like it quite a bit. Who do we get to play against this time? Disdainful Stroke's not really a card that I could truly consider on curve, but, I mean, am I willing to keep a hand that has 4 lands and nothing to do until turn 4? Absolutely. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe my opponent plays like a treasure on turn 2 and then a 4-drop on turn 3. And I actually get to Disdainful Stroke something on turn 3. That's best case scenario. Warlock class. That's probably not going to wind up making a treasure, huh? I messed up. I shouldn't have played Shipwreck Marsh on turn 1. I should have played Hive, because if I top-decked Vanishing Verse, I wanted to be able to play Vanishing Verse while also having had Hive not be a tap land later on. Or rather, I wanted to hold up Vanishing Verse. I have to discard a card, you say. I could probably discard this, White Pathway. Vorpal Sword. I'm still incredibly upset that in the set that introduced the idea of flavor text in the middle of cards for ability names. To like say, hey, this card's ability is to use the spell Flame Hands. The fact that this activated 8 mana ability isn't Snicker Snack. That is the right word, right? Snicker Snack? That upsets me so much. Yes, Snicker Snack. Good evening, what matchups are Jacob for? Not sure I've ever seen anyone else play this card. So the original intention was grindy control mirrors, where looting to hit land drops is somewhat valuable, and transforming it eventually represents a very hard to answer piece of card advantage. And if they do use a removal spell on it, all you lost was a 2-drop. But we've since cut it and replaced it with Divine Smite, because Divine Smite is actually better in pretty much every single one of those matchups, because they either play black planeswalkers or they play Edgar, who's really hard to answer once it's on board. And 2-mana instant speed Exile and Edgar actually turns out to be a lot more relevant than a 2-mana mana dork that provides card advantage. Well, I've already got enough mana, so I guess I just take more removal spells? +2/+0 and has Death Touch. Okay. Think we just make a bunch of tokens to block? It feels mostly good to me. Not quite sure how my opponent gets out of this easily. Warlock classes, give them some card advantage. I do have to be very mindful of my life total. Warlock classes do a lot of damage. Not much to this, but me just setting up blocks, though. Lolth gets some counters. You got a land drop, right, opponent? You definitely hit a land drop off Warlock class? No. Yikes. Okay. Am I willing to draw cards and lose life, even though my life total is admittedly a super precious resource right now? Absolutely. Alright, let's Sorin and down tick. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna sit here and try to kill my opponent. This would normally be the part of the stream where I try to say what I'm worried about the opponent doing and what I need to play around, but to be entirely honest, I have absolutely no clue what my opponent's doing, and they have yet to play a single card that I've seen in a deck before. So, yeah, defend straight, I still have yet to see a card they have played before. So I have absolutely no idea what's coming. We're going to swing with this 2/3 and gain some life. And I guess we're going to... Should have played Edgar. I forgot that it pumps these vampire tokens. Alright, we're going to uptick Sorin. Yeah, I guess I'll reveal a Vanishing Verse. What the heck. Let's just go super wide. Alright, opponent. I got no clue what's going on. Opponent will one-shot you with a bad Death Shadow. If they get up to enough mana to kick it, and also have Warlock's class upgraded, that could happen. I have seen Duress in a deck before, so we're finally approaching somewhat familiar territory here. took my Meathook Massacre, but left me with Vanishing Verse. Currently have 8, 11, 14 damage we could do to the opponent. Not quite lethal. So I guess we'll just attack like normal. Gain as much life as we can. Downtick Sorin. Hold on to Disdainful Stroke. Suppose maybe there was some merit to attacking with Hive there and holding up Disdainful Stroke. The merit being that if the opponent does somehow play a board wipe that gets around Disdainful Stroke, or I guess if they duress the Disdainful Stroke and then play a board wipe, I don't think they're, even if they go land drop duress, there's no 4-mana board wipe that clears my board here though, right? Everything would always leave Edgar? I don't know. I'm not seeing any way in which they can avoid dying here. Flunking a spider. That does happen. It successfully dies. I don't know if I entirely appreciate that just because a spider only has 1 toughness, that it's very easy to fail it out of a class, but what can you do? Alright, another creature down. They have 1 mana to remove 3 creatures with. Okay, they were unable to succeed. This is a Markov-themed deck. We do have a lot of vampire stuff going on. It's true. The flavor is a little harsh here. Bloodchief's Thirst, Parasitic Grasp. Vanishing Verse, I suppose, isn't, like, the worst. Arrogant, Disdainful Stroke. Actual Serial Murderer. Destroying the Soul of a Dragon. Just a bunch of corpses on sticks. Eyeballs falling out of somebody's head. A sexy vampire. An old sexy vampire. Alright, a dragon isn't like... What does it say that a dragon is probably like the least spooky thing in our deck? Giant spider queen. I guess not a spider god. And a horror. What's scarier? I mean, I guess by definition a horror has to be scarier than a dragon. But if all a Hullbreaker Horror has going for it in terms of scariness is size, I guess it's got a bunch of arms? Like 12 arms? No, wait, 16 arms? 16 arms? I guess that's kind of scary. Dragons don't have 16 arms. What were we playing against and how are we going to board? I guess I should probably bring in Divine Smite. Probably cut like Iymrith and Hullbreaker Horrors and like bring in Edgars and Kayas, maybe? I don't know. Probably bring in Sorin. My opponent's on a bunch of Drain. Yeah, probably should bring in 2 more Parasitic Grasps. Lolth is a god in D&D. Or goddess, right? Yeah. Okay. I thought that I'd heard that Lolth was supposed to be a god. Yeah, alright, I'm going to keep this. If we don't hit a black source for the Edgar on 4, we get Memory Deluge. I have been given permission to be on the play, which is interesting. Yeah, drew black source, so Edgar it is. Tainted Adversary. I should probably counter that. I'd have no guarantee that my opponent's going to do something next turn that I can counter otherwise. I need to remember to play Deserted Beach next turn so that if I top deck a tap land, I can play it and Memory Deluge. Opponent has many Vorpal Swords. Do we have an answer for Edgar? No answer for Edgar. Duress probably takes Memory Deluge. Makes me sad. Nope. Opponent gives me Memory Deluge. Wonderful. Alright, well, what else is happening then? Edgar is dead, but not exiled. Gone to study, and then come back. Hopefully. I wonder how I was supposed to memory... I was supposed to Memory Deluge at sorcery speed there in case I hit a tap land. Especially because the one tap land in my deck at this point is a black land, and I'd like to be able to play Sorin next turn, so that makes that decision actually quite relevant. Well, not punished. And I guess I'd probably rather have Meathook Massacre than a Jwari Disruption. Most likely. Play a Sorin. Down to a Sorin. Opponent's on a deck that seems to be black, low-cost aggro with lots of removal, but there's only so much that can do against a super grindy deck with a bunch of answers. I imagine it's probably like the worst possible matchup they could run into. Bloop. Take the Lolth. I guess take the Soul Shatter. Play cards. Is this lethal? 6, 2, 7, probably. Is combat and swing? Okay. I guess we got there. I am willing to keep a hand that has Celestus on 3. That seems reasonable. The flexibility of Valky is nice. The question is, how easily can you build a deck that wants both halves? I suppose maybe I'm underrating how mid-rangey that deck is capable of being, because it didn't have a mid-rangey game plan in game 1. Or at least it didn't have a mid-rangey draw in game 1, I suppose is what I should say. Are we splashing Tibalt to kill Edgar's? Ah, we don't need to. We found our answer to Edgar already. No! Sculptor of Winter. That's not a thing that's Parasitic Graspable on 2. Opponent, you were supposed to play the Werewolf Pack Leader, and I would get to look super cool for main decking Parasitic Grasp. Oh, this looks like probably Chariot. Okay, no, it's just Oddity. Thank goodness. That's so much easier to handle. Alright, well, we get to Meathook that next turn. Don't think I want Hall of the Storm Giants. Maybe that's a mistake, but I don't think I can afford tap lands currently. I would like my opponent to play another Wolvenwald Oddity, I think. Certainly not a Wrenn and 7. As tempting as it is to Parasitic Grasp the Sculptor of Winter here, I don't think I can do that. Werewolf Pack Leader, okay. The concern is... okay. Lolth and Vanishing Verse I like. My primary concern is what happens when the opponent Snakeskin Veils the Oddity here. But I guess next turn I have Lolth plus Vanishing Verse, so I actually still have a way to handle that anyway. Oh, okay. Inscription of Abundance putting 2 counters on Oddity is... Well, no, that's still not enough because I gain life with Meathook, so I think I'm still fine. Does Primal Adversary give trample to lands? It doesn't. Why is this card so weak? The fact that it's not a 3/3 is kind of wild. Wait, is it a 4/3? Wait, is it a 4/3? I thought it was a 3/2 a second ago when I was reading it. Oh, maybe it's actually good then. Okay. That was weird. Let's see, how to do this, how to do this, how to do this. Vanishing Verse the Oddity. Thing's got Trample, which is kind of annoying. I'm a little nervous about trying to play Lolth in this spot. Primal Adversary, actually kind of good. I think I just got to kicker the Primal Adversary here. Go up to 8. Ooh, alright. Extra life from the Celestus is delightful. If I hit an untapped land next turn, I can Lolth plus Parasitic Grasp. Joe DaCosta, thanks for the sub. I really appreciate the support. Okay. This seems to be going somewhat fine-ish, I think. But yeah, really would appreciate an untapped land so that I can Parasitic Grasp that Snow-Covered Forest. No such luck. I feel like there's a pretty good chance that Blizzard Brawl is the last card in hand, which has me nervous because if I play Lolth, I die to them top decking a second Blizzard Brawl in that case. So I think I'm actually going to wind up passing here, which flips it to Night, lets me loot with Celestus. If I'd hit an untapped land, I would 100% have jammed the Lolth with the Parasitic Grasp up. Standard seemed a lot better since the bans, huh? Been playing a lot of mid-range versus mid-range games for once. Yeah? Although in a weird way, I think like... Well, actually, I probably could have kept that Hullbreaker, to be honest. I think that like nearly every matchup is mid-range right now, which is sort of a strange spot to be in, but I guess I can't complain. It's not a bad spot to be in. It's just very different. Things will probably stratify eventually. I don't think it's going to stay that way. Oh, alright. Well, piles of Vanishing Verses are cool. Alright, let's be as mana efficient as possible. This probably gets... Oh, not countered? Cool. Okay, well, in that case, I mean, I guess I'm just going to play a Lolth and down ticket and have a Vanishing Verse up. I was really expecting either Inscription of Abundance or Snakeskin Veil. Radical that that didn't happen. Lightblade. Huh. Main deck? Interesting. Well, I don't see myself losing with 2 Vanishing Verses in hand. Sculptor of Winter. Yep. I will attempt a double block. I kind of forgot that that somehow killed both spiders. I don't know why I thought my spiders had 2 toughness, but I guess it works. I do get to make 2 more spiders anyway. I'm going to pretend that was intentional and that I didn't make a huge mistake, because I do think it still wound up being correct for both of them to die. Nothing ever unintentional. Definitely not. Definitely not just constant mistakes. Sculptor of Winter. I don't think that's going to be very good, so I feel like I get to do some Memory Deluge nonsense now. I am willing to trade one Spider for one Tajuru Blightblade. Happily paying life for cards. Cards turns into removal spells. Everything is wonderful. No need to attack. Why do that when I'm winning? Draw a card? Sure. Get rid of land? Yeah, we got enough. Ranger class, huh? That'll be a problem. I'm gonna have to Vanishing Verse that. That's like a whole 2-for-1 and everything. My opponent has a 2-2, and I don't have a Vanishing Verse. I'm gonna have to wipe my sad 2-for-1 to tears with Memory Deluge. At least that's almost like getting a card back. Alright, let's take Edgar and Iymrith, because those seem like cards I can play this turn that are very large. Play an Iymrith. 0 Lolth. Hopefully hit an untapped land so I can hold up Disdainful Stroke. No, all we did was hit a giant Hullbreaker Horror. Bummer. Oh, we're done. Okay, if you say so, opponent. I'll take your word for it. Okay. I want Edgar. Do I want Iymrith against mono green? I definitely want Fading Hope. I probably want Bloodchief's Thirst. I think I want Horror. I don't think I want Sorin. I probably do want Parasitic Grasp. I probably want Disdainful Stroke. Do I want Iymrith? I guess it's kind of good against mono green other than Inscription of Abundance. And is a good follow-up to Edgar. That leaves me with needing a lot of cuts, though. What do we think, team? What do we think? Ugh. What are we cutting here? I could, like, trim a Memory Deluge. Don't like Disdainful. Even though the opponent's probably playing 4 Chariot and some number of Ulvenwald Horrors. I don't think it's stellar, but it's a better removal for most of those than anything else we have. It's not easy to hold up Disdainful Stroke on the draw, but there are a lot of times where I would rather hold up Disdainful Stroke than use a removal spell. I'm going to go with I don't think I can play Hullbreaker Horror, which I think is the death knell for us needing to go cut Hullbreaker Horror and put something else in the main deck instead. And then as far as cuts go, maybe Memory Deluge, maybe a Disdainful Stroke. I'm not super on board. I'm not entirely convinced I should be cutting Disdainful Stroke or Memory Deluge here, but I don't know what the alternatives are. Moncreasy, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Do we have enough lands to consider Jwari? I don't like cutting Jwari against aggro decks. Especially not mono green, because it's a deck that curves out 3 and 4 drops more than most other aggro decks. So it does a good job of buying you kind of necessary time. Hey Chris, what matchups would you bring in Kaya for? Curious where that fits in. Basically any deck where I suspect my opponent plays Edgar is what the current plan for Kaya is. Because Edgar is a card that is hard for us to remove otherwise. Chris wouldn't consider cutting lands if it would take him below 36. Yeah, I can't think of many decks I've ever built where cutting lands was a choice that I was willing to make. This is strange. I'm just going to play the Celestus, because I do need white sources kind of badly. Okay, back leader is Parasitic Graspable, so that's cool. Alright, let's start with Edgar. Wow, my opponent has nothing. That's kind of shocking. Blizzard Brawl, sure. Did they just have a billion removal spells then? Well, they can pay to draw with Pack Leader. Okay, Oddity is good for them. However, Oddity is also good for me. Best case scenario, I draw a land and get to jam Meathook Massacre. Worst case scenario... Would I rather have Bloodchief's Thirst or Parasitic Grasp in hand? I'm assuming I'd probably rather have Bloodchief's Thirst, actually. So we're just going to remove all their permanents. And then chill out with the Edgar Markov's Coffin giving us card advantage. Wovenwald Oddity, sure. Ideally, we hit an untapped land that isn't blue, or rather isn't mono blue, so that I can kick Bloodchief's Thirst on this Oddity and still hold up Vanishing Verse to play around... No, not successful. Okay. Ah, well. Don't think it's worth playing the Bloodchief's Thirst at sorcery speed. We get rid of the Celestus, because that's a duplicate. Don't think it's worth trying to sorcery speed the Bloodchief's Thirst when it's probably going to get countered by Snakeskin Veil anyway, and when I would like to draw a card and gain a life. Okay, Vorinclex is annoying, but I can kill it here even through a Snakeskin Veil. I lied. I can't cast Parasitic Grasp and Vanishing Verse here. That sucks. Alright, so here's the plan. Block like so. Take some damage. I really need to top deck an untapped black source or white source. Okay, they don't actually have Snakeskin Veil. That's cool. Still... Nah, they passed through it. They don't have Snakeskin Veil. So I guess I just Vanishing Verse this to hold up Disdainful Stroke. Let's gain some life. Pass the turn. Yeah, the goal was to bait out Veil at their instep there. I'm not totally convinced I did it the right way. It's possible I was supposed to Vanishing Verse at their instep, because they could have just ignored the Parasitic Grasp. But if they had done that, then me missing an untapped land on my turn meant I couldn't Bloodchief's Thirst and Vanishing Verse. But it worked out. Okay, let's swing with everybody. The opponent wants to trade, I'm happy about that. If they don't want to trade, I'm happy about that. Alright, so Celestus saved us from our mana base here, thankfully. Otherwise that could have gotten iffy. Yeah, Blizzard Brawl on Edgar. Turns Edgar back into a coffin. Chris, I'm happy to see you streaming regularly again. Watching you play Magic is one of the things I enjoy most in life. Oh, thanks. I'm happy to hear it. And I'm happy to hear you're enjoying yourself. Yeah, Edgar still comes back, because that's what Edgar does. Edgar always comes back. We get more tiny creatures. I could kill my opponent's pack leader here, but I think I actually want to encourage them to kill my token so I can downtick this Lolth. I wonder if Celestus would be good in Orzhov. It's looked pretty good in this match. I don't know if it's as necessary, because you don't necessarily need to save your mana base more. And you have fewer... Well, I guess you might have more 1 mana. Yeah, maybe Celestus would be pretty good in Orzhov. That could be the case. No, they didn't kill 2 things. They only killed 1 thing. That's not fair, opponent. You're supposed to kill more stuff than... Oh, okay, we're done. I didn't want to lose my Lolth. I wanted more card advantage.